Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kizzy and today I have my February TBR. So I'm not normally one to do TBRs because I kind of am a mood reader and I don't tend to get through as much as I would like to. So putting the pressure on to do a TBR is quite a lot. But I'm just going to take this relaxed as a relaxed TBR. Just whilst I get into the swing of it. I do have uni all this month. In March and April my half term kind of crosses over then, so I think I'll get a lot more reading done then. But for this month I've got 5 books or 4 books. 4 books to tell you about, 5 books on my TBR because one of the books is for another video that I'm doing that will be coming out I think next week, hopefully, if all goes to plan. So I won't tell you about that just because, I mean, it's not that dramatic, but I just kind of want to keep it a little bit of a surprise. So the 4 books I have to show you are, starting with The Odyssey by Homer, and it's translated by Emily Wilson. For some reason I just really wanted to pick this up recently and I keep putting it off because I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be reading it whilst I should be reading other uni books because it's kind of a more literary book, I suppose, as a classic. But why should that stop you? If you want to read a classic instead of reading your uni books, you totally should. But I just want to read this at the moment, so that's why it's now on my TBR, because I want to read it. So for those that don't know, Emily Wilson is the first female to translate the Odyssey, and from what I've heard it is very different to any other previous translations by male translators, and it's quite modern. It's a very modern translation, so I think it's very accessible if you are at all worried about trying to read the Odyssey and not understand it. To be fair, they all tend to be quite accessible because they are translated into English, so they obviously are aimed at being read in English, and a lot of the translations are quite modern. I think the Fagles ones in the, do not quote me on this, but I think it's the early 1900s. So it's not at all that old, really, in the retrospect of everything. Certainly not compared to the original. But yeah, I just really want to read this. I'm interested to see how it is. Greek mythology is something that really interests me, and Greek literature. This isn't mythology, this is literature. But Greek literature really interests me, and it's a beautiful book. Oh, and it's also one of my reads for my Classics TBR that I'm doing for Lucy Barry's Long Year Classics Readathon. So it would be nice to get a book ticked off for that. So the next 2 books I actually started in December, but I haven't got very far. I think I'm only 30 pages in the one I'm about to show you and 100 pages in the other one. So they will be February books read if they get ticked off. So that's why I'm going to put them in here. The first one is The Winter's Promise, or A Winter's Promise, by Christelle Dabos. So this is a translation, again, from French into English. So this is a book about a world that is split into arcs. So I think this is an arc. So there's different kind of towns, as you were, but they're in floating arcs. And the main character, Ophelia, is promised to marry one of the other people, or a person from one of the other arcs, and she has to move there. I think I haven't quite got that far yet. It's quite simple to read. It feels a little bit like a kid's book, like a middle grade book, but I think because of the topics in it, it's actually a YA book, so it's very easy to read. So I think I'll probably get through it quite quickly, hopefully. We shall see. Yes, had this on my bookshelf for like such a long time as well, so it's about time that I read it. The next book I have is the second one in the series, and that is Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Nagan. So I read Girls of Paper and Fire in December. It was okay. I think it was like a 3.5 star read, and I'm about 100 pages into this one, and again, it's just okay at the moment. I want to love it more, and I think what I don't love about it is the romance. It's a female-female romance, so great representation there, but I think it's the dialogue. The way they talk to each other I just don't find believable. I find it a bit cringy, a bit like soppy, and just a bit like, I don't know, I just don't like it. And I think that's what's stopping me from like believing it, because it doesn't feel believable to me. It just feels put on because of the dialogue. I think that's the main reason I'm struggling to enjoy it as much as I want to, which I kind of just need to get over, but we'll see. For those that don't know, this follows a girl called Lay, and she lives in a world where there are 3 castes. So there's moon castes, steel castes and paper castes. Paper castes are just normal human beings. Steel castes are kind of half human, half animal, or have an element of an animal, so they might have all human features except some rabbit ears or something like that. And then you've got moon castes, which are kind of human formed, but they are completely animal. So they're like a walking, talking leopard, if that makes sense. And the moon castes are the ones that rule, or they are the higher castes, and they're currently ruled by the king, who is a bull, and each year he gets paper girls, which are kind of his concubines that are chosen to give him pleasure, basically. And one year the girl Lay is chosen to be one of those paper girls, and it's kind of repercussions of that and the rebellious nature she has. It's quite short, like it's 400 pages long, which I suppose isn't actually that short, but it feels a lot shorter. It doesn't look that thick, does it? Yeah, I shall read this just because I kind of want to know what happens, and I think it will get better. I just need to get over the kind of dodgy dialogue with the romance. I'm sure many people would read this and not find it cringy or anything like that. I just do, so sorry. Each for their own though. The final book I have on my TBR for this month is one that I'm quite excited to read. It will be my first Brandon Sanderson that I've read physically. I've listened to half of an audiobook, but I had to stop just because it got a bit confusing and I wasn't paying enough attention to it because I was doing other stuff whilst listening to it. So it will be my first physical Brandon Sanderson that I will be reading, and I'm reading it for Rachel Marie's read-along that she's doing this year called the Cosmere-along, I think it's called, and that is the Brandon Sanderson, obviously, read-along. So it begins with February and March reading Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. So this just came in the post today, so very exciting. And I have no idea what it's about. I'm just going to read it and see what it's about. I'm excited because obviously I think it's such a good thing to do with a read-along, because the things with Brandon Sanderson is that like he's so prestigious and he's so many books, it's really daunting to get started in. You have no idea where to start. So having someone say, right, you need to read this for this month and this month, it's kind of nice in like a weird dictatory kind of way. Obviously she's not dictating that, I don't have to do it, but it, like if I think of it like that, it'll help me a lot, and I'm just really excited to get stuck into it and see what it's like. I think there's like a short story and something else to do with this. It's only like 25 pages long, but apart from that I think this is the only book in the series, so exciting. We shall see what it's like. So that's my TBR for today, or not for today, for the whole month, and I shall get started on it as soon as possible. Hopefully I'll get to read most of it. I think I should. I really should be able to read most of it. I don't think I'll get to read much next week just because I have an assessment due in, but apart from that I don't have another assessment due till the end of the month, so we should have a lot of reading time. I have high hopes. Check in at my February wrap up to see how those high hopes went, but apart from that, thank you again for watching and I shall see you next time.